Greetings and welcome to A Seat at the Table. I am your host, Stephanie, and tonight I have the pleasure of speaking to two amazing women who will share their story of how they beat the curse of a broken system. Let's welcome Amanda and Trinity. Hello, Amanda and Trinity.
Hi,
Hello.
Can you guys introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself? And I'll start with Trinity.
my name's Trinity, and I'm 21, and I don't know. um, I'm just here to get to words to get through to other people who have been through our situation. I don't know.
Okay,
uh,
that's okay. We're glad to have you here at the table. And just know here at A Seat at the Table, this is a safe place. This is a non-judgment place, and everyone is welcome. Everyone's opinion is valued. And we like to invite people to pull up a seat at the table and share their story. So it is okay. Amanda, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am Trinity's mom, and she has three brothers, so I have four children. I have been in recovery for 5 years, going on 6 years. I own my own business, and 45 years old.
Well, thank you. Again, I just want to thank you, ladies, for joining us today and sharing your story. I know tonight we're going to jump into some topics that can be a little heavy. So if there's anything that you do not feel comfortable with answering, you do not have to answer it. If it's something you don't want to share, please feel free to let me know you don't want to share that and we'll move on. This is a safe space and I want you to feel welcome and to know that this is a safe space in a non-judgment zone. So thank you again. So, we're going to talk tonight about the curse of a broken system. And I just want to, this topic is so dear to me, Amanda. When I saw your story on TikTok, it really resonated with me. And the things that you shared on your TikTok story, I thought about it. And a lot of women, not only women, but men and children, they go through these situations. So, do you mind telling us a little bit about how you survived the curse of the broken system?
Well, I'm still wondering how I survived, but I'm here.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, my husband, their father, passed away unexpectedly in a work-related accident. Um, a tree fell on him, and I had four kids. My youngest was three, my oldest was 16. Trinity and Talon in the middle, and we had to move like immediately because they said our place wasn't safe where we was because everybody was stepping in and trying to help, but they really wasn't helping. And at the time, I was struggling with addiction. Um, so he died in September, and by April, CPS had stepped in or had been in and out. But in April, they took my kids. Um, They would not let any family have them. My mom does not have a substance abuse or any kind of addiction. Um, she had a place. She's a loving grandma, and there was no reason for her not to take her grandkids. But they put them in foster care for a year, um, and I didn't really get any visits or even any like if I failed a drug test, they wouldn't even let me talk to them on the phone. And they went with strangers. They was with two foster families, Trin,
yes.
two foster families. So, and my mom fought a year. She hired a lawyer, and she got them back. And they told my mom they cut my mom off from me. They told my mom that she couldn't have any communications with me at all. So basically, I was left all alone after
All
having
right.
a big family.
I'm sorry, you said they told your mom. Who told your mom that they couldn't have
CPS,
any?
CPS told my mom that while she was fighting for custody of my kids, she could not have any communication with me.
Okay, so that was one of the stipulations. If she was to
Yes.
get your kids, that you couldn't be a part of.
One of the many stipulations that they put on her. They made her jump through hoops to get them kids for no reason. There was no reason. But yeah, so she couldn't talk to me. So basically I was just I I had my husband, my kids, my house, my belongings, and everything just taken away from me within 6 months.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. And Trinity, I'm sure that that was a very traumatizing experience for you. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Do you remember the day the CPS came and you were removed from your mom? Can you tell me what that day was like?
I don't remember the exact day because it was so traumatizing. My brain just doesn't want to remember the moment, I guess.
Okay.
But the aftermath of it, and then going to school, everybody knowing everybody's business. I've gotten bullied um, about my dad being had died, and I was also like kind of overweight, and that really stuck with me too. And then also the family stuff, and it just it was hard. It was really hard, and I don't really necessarily remember the exact day that they took us, but um it was hard not seeing my mom very very often, and even before, she kind of wasn't fully there either, and you can kind of tell. And I don't know, it was just an experience that I hope to never experience again, and and which I won't, but like, in like another life or something. I'm hoping like things would have been a little different, but I don't know.
I get it. Now, when you were removed from your mom, were you and any of your siblings allowed to stay together, or were you all placed
Yeah,
somewhere separate?
yeah. They tried to keep uh Talon and Tayden, which is my middle brother and my little brother, and they had to separate uh our older brother from us from the first foster home because um they had a girl that was just about his age, I think. So we couldn't all be together. So it was only the three of us, and we didn't really get to see TJ much. So
And he still alienates himself. He considers himself the black sheep, and I think
yeah,
it's it's for that reason.
Because of the separation from his siblings at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And he still thinks he's like separated from them in some way because I think because of the separation that they did. But and the foster family was not a good foster family, so they went through trauma there too.
yeah.
So
Um,
I I just jumping. I just want to piggyback a little bit. So when your kids were removed from you, I know you said your husband died. You were battling addiction at the time too. So when CPS was called to remove your children, did they give you any? What was the specific reason that they said that they were removing your children? Was it because of everything you were going through, or was it because of the drug addiction?
It started. Oh, well, girl, that's a whole nother story as to why what I know not to be written fact, but what I know to be the reason why. But they started by saying people were anonymously calling and making reports. But I also was on probation from prior charges. But um, my brother lived with my kids while I did a little time in jail, and he was doing a lot of big illegal things. And um, I feel like they couldn't, and this is why I feel like my mom couldn't get them, but they was trying to build a racketeering case on my brother, and because my kids were there at the home with him, they couldn't interrogate my kids unless they was in state custody. So, and I'm not saying because I could have, at the end of the day, I could have got clean and not had, they wouldn't have had a leg to stand on, but I couldn't.
Well, prior to them taking your kids, because I heard you say that they had said they had calls, several calls, and so they were investigating you for whatever reason that the calls were coming in for. Did
Anonymous
they,
calls.
anonymous calls, right? So did they offer you any help or assistance prior to taking your kids from you? Were there any programs being offered to you or
They
anything?
did. They sent me to a rehab facility for a month, but it was not a good facility. Doesn't have a good reputation. But the main thing was when I did that 30 days and I came home, they did not help me with aftercare at all.
The
No,
facility didn't help you with aftercare at all.
um, like transportation to get back and forth to maybe like the methadone clinic or, no counseling. They did the 30 days and then I guess they felt like that should be enough. That was it.
Mhm. Now, how long was your kids separated from you?
Well, so my mom got them a year, but I ended up like going to jail for 2 years. And
Were they with your mom the whole 2 years you were in jail, or was it they started off with your mom and then eventually wound up in a foster home?
no, they started out in the foster care system for a year, and then my mom got them, and and then mom had them, and then when I got out of jail, I moved in with mom and the kids. I don't know if I don't think I was supposed to, but I did because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and um and I didn't get them back right away. I didn't even try because I ended up relapsing again. Um, it's a struggle losing your kids. It's a struggle when you're grown and been on your own for so long to move back home with your mom and then
Yeah.
to be a parent to your kids while your mother parents you. It's a very difficult situation. I love my mom, but I left my mom's because me and her got into a disagreement about homeschooling my youngest.
Mhm.
and But it was the best thing because I needed to go. I needed to find my own way, and I did, and I got back on my feet, and um, when I knew that I was ready, because I didn't want to do this and then have it all over again. So when I knew that I was ready, I petitioned the courts, and the guardian of Lighton came to our home for about an hour, and she was in court with me, and which she supported me. She was one of the only ones that supported me throughout. She would come and check on me to make sure I was okay when after they had taken my kids. Um, I went back and petitioned the court. We was in there maybe 10 minutes and I got custody just like that. And they told my mom I'd never see my kids again.
So your kids started off in a foster home, but they transitioned in home with your mom. And
Right.
then when you received custody of your kids again, it was the custody from your mom being transferred back over to your
That's
parent
correct.
custody.
Yep.
Okay. So let's go back and talk about the foster home. So was your kids in a foster home for a good while before they went to your mom, or was
A
that a quick
year.
transition, about a
No,
year?
yeah, they made my mom do they got into her finances. They made her get her own place away from her boyfriend, which she had been with for that's their pawpaw. So he's not my dad, but he's there. He just passed
Right.
a little over a year ago, but that's all they know is grandfather. But she had to leave him and get her own place. She had to take. They made her do mental evaluations, like psychiatric like multiple. She actually had to hire a lawyer, um, and so she was away from they actually made her boyfriend take drug test.
Mhm.
um and he wasn't even living with them in the home. Like he had to take a drug test just to come visit.
Right, because I guess at the time he's going to be around the kids, so they want to make sure that everybody just the kids are being exposed to have
Right.
a clean background and they're not under the substance or any type of substance abuse. So I get that. So let me ask you a question about foster care, the foster home. Trinity, being away from your family for a whole year in a foster home, I know it can be hard. I heard you speak on, you struggled a little bit with the weight issue and being bullied and teased, I believe you said.
Mhm.
How was it being in foster care with your foster parents? Did you feel supported by them when you were going through those things? Did they deposit some positive things in you to help you cope with being away from mom, dealing with the bullying? Can you speak to that?
No. They interrogated us every time that we would go visit with my grandma towards like the end of the visit, but I guess I should back up towards the beginning. But when we came there, I was expected to do everything. I was expected to take care of both of them, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you got to remember, I'm 11. I'm just in like the middle of sixth grade. I'm not even like really old enough to comprehend what's going on, really. But I try to be their caretaker, and as I was expected to. And if I wasn't, I would get my phone taken away, and I would be put on like chores that weren't like they were like ridiculous chores. They weren't like chores that could like help out or anything like that. They were just like ridiculous.
Can you give me an
Um,
example?
like I would have to fold their laundry. Like I would have to fold like the pair like the foster homes like because we had two foster sisters and um one foster brother who had severe autism, and he they weren't really like good at like trying to um keep him from like scratching people and like spitting on people. And that's kind of how he kind of expressed himself, I guess, because like now being, grown, I'm like maybe that's probably they could have stopped him. They could have
Regulate his
taught him.
emotions.
Yeah, they could have taught him to not do that. They could have done something a little different from that. And he started scratching and making Tayden bleed. Um, to the point because they played together for like a little bit, and then he would start scratching on him until he would bleed. And I think he still has scars, and he's 13 now, and he still I think he still has scars on his back from then. And they only fed us like one meal a day. They expected us to eat out at school, which I get it, but it's also like, we got our Halloween candy taken away. We couldn't have our Halloween candy, and we never had our Halloween candy. Like every time we would ask, they'd be like, "No," and it would be stuck up on the top of the cupboards. And
The
it,
lock. Then they locked the
yeah, oh
refrigerator.
yeah, the lock on the doors. There was like baby locks and stuff, and I had
What
to
type of
steal
doors? What when you say
like
lock on
like
doors?
cupboards, like the cupboards and like the fridge. Um, it wasn't like hard, but it was like you would definitely probably get in trouble if like you would try to unlock them without asking for permission to get snack. And we couldn't really snack any, and that I lost a ton of weight. My brothers did too,
They did.
and
Deidre,
they.
so I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's really disheartening that you experience these things.
Mhm.
I'm at a loss for words, but I'm also trying to, I guess, comprehend. At 11 years old, you're going through all these things. You're in foster care. The foster family that you're with. Now they have you, your brother, and a couple of other foster kids, and you have a caseworker. So when all of these things were going on, did the caseworker, did you guys report this to the caseworker? Did they come visit? Did they do home
Kind
visits?
of.
Because to me, looking outside, looking in, there's a breakdown somewhere
Yeah.
where, so if you're, and I'm just going by, my mom is a foster mom, right? And so
Yeah.
I can remember, well, she's not anymore, but she was. And so I can remember home visits being done. I can remember caseworkers. I remember times of my mom saying that she has to have a monthly visit with the caseworker, or the caseworker come and visit the kids. And even with me being in education, I see how workers come visit the kids at the school building and they have these conversations. So to hear a vulnerable 11-year-old experience these things like that, were there not visits going on?
There was, I think, like there was visits at school. I'm in the middle class. I get called to the office. That's our like monthly visit for me. And then like they'll go. She used to go to like all of our schools, like the elementary school and then to the middle school. And I I think I was too scared to tell her about what was happening, but I think she was against us too.
But
I
she
remember,
always interrogated them about my brother and not really
yeah,
that's all they cared about.
yeah. I
So
feel
you,
like she
so it's
was
safe to say
against
that you did.
I think she was against my mom. It just felt like she was always like kind of bad mouthing her behind but like I don't know, not behind the scenes, I guess, but sort of. It just felt like she was against us and against my mom and just against my grandma. Like it just felt like she was just against our family, trying to put us all down.
Was it? So I'm hearing you say you were too scared to tell her. I hear you say, I'm hearing you say that she was against your mom, or you felt like she was against your mom. You felt like she was against
Yeah.
your grandma. So you didn't share these things with her. So you didn't feel like it was a safe. It's safe to say that you didn't feel like it was a safe space for you.
Yeah, I don't think she was a safe space at all. The Guardian of Light was the safer person, I felt like in that time frame. Um, she really, every time I would ask about mom, she would say that, how she would be doing and kind of like catching up on what's going on with her. And yeah, I don't
They
know.
ended up being removed from that home because that little boy was so abusive to Tatum, the youngest one. He had bruises from the top of his all the way down, big old bite marks all the way down
Oh
the back
yeah,
of his arm.
I did forget. I forgot
So,
about the
so I
biting.
guess that would be my next question is, I know I hear you, I heard Trinity say that she didn't feel like the worker was a safe space. So you said the guardian, I'm sorry, the guardian of life, is that what you said? Is that what the title is?
The guardian of light and the
Okay,
lawyer.
Yeah,
so
the
okay,
light.
so
Yeah,
that particular person you felt like was a safer space for you. So
yeah.
what transpired that you were able to get out of the home? So because somebody, if you went from being in his home that you felt like wasn't safe, and then I hear you say that he had marks and things like that. So eventually somebody took notice to have you guys removed from that home.
I don't really necessarily remember.
I think it was my mom. My mom
Yeah,
seen the bruises on Tatum.
yeah, I think it was Mama.
And then you were removed to your second foster home.
Yeah,
So what
and
was that experience?
that was out of Nelson County or hometown. That was a different like county, Orange County, and it was a different school for all of us. It it was hard because it was hard making friends at first, and I had a bully there too.
But did you
It
have
was
a better
rough.
experience in that home,
In the
in the
home,
second
yeah,
home?
I had my own room. I didn't have to share it.
Okay.
It was better. It was a better environment there, but the schooling was the hardest part. In the second home, um, it's just kids are mean and they see somebody different and going through something and also being overweight too, and then underweight, and then in between. I was still kind of overweight, even though I lost a ton of weight after that foster care, after that foster home. Um, I still was considered fat, even though I lost a whole ton of weight. I was still getting bullied there too.
And was
But
it
I
when you
didn't.
say you were being bullied, whether that was doing school and at the foster home, or was it just at
Um,
school? Because I know
at
kids are
school,
mean
yeah, at school,
or can be mean.
definitely. Um, I felt like the foster sister from the first home that I shared a room with, towards the end, we finally like grew on each other, but that's because I kind of like we kind of were stuck in a room together, you know.
Okay.
Um, but she irritated me because I would I would get in trouble if I didn't clean our room. So she would have her side of the room and I would have my side, and if the whole room wasn't cleaned, I would get my TV, or my TV privilege taken away. I would get my phone taken away. Got my phone taken away a lot, and it was over stupid crap. And it was just like kind of tiring. And I was like, I felt like I already lived a life at 11. It was an experience that I don't wish on anybody else to
They
experience.
so the reason that they went to this foster mom is because I went to school with her. I knew who she was, but I didn't like hang out with her. I wasn't friends with her, but she was willing to take those three kids and keep them together.
Okay.
So that's why they went to that. My other two, my boys won't talk about their experience there. They don't even want to hear her. They won't even
The
say her name.
experience at the second foster home,
No, the first one.
the first foster home.
Yeah.
See,
Did they
she
ever share? Did they ever share with you why they don't want to talk to their about their experience? So, because and when you say they don't want to talk about it, do they not want to get mental health services to speak about it, or they just don't speak about it to the family, or they
they
just
just don't want to
refuse to?
talk. They just don't want to talk about her at all. Like they don't even
Yeah.
want to hear. Like it was so
Yeah.
traumatizing for them, I guess.
Especially Talon. Hayden doesn't really necessarily remember too much, but Talon, he 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 definitely doesn't.
He
I think he thinks that like therapy is also like bad. He's never been into therapy as much as I have been, and I think it's because he was made to in that first foster home. He was made to go to therapy, and he didn't have a choice in the matter. Um, and he was also just interrogated every time we would go visit my grandma. He would be the one to be sitting at the table for about an hour or so, and maybe 2 hours, and he would get questioned, and then I would get questioned, but it wouldn't be like I would stand my ground. I was like, no, like I would say stuff just for them to like leave me alone, but it was just like I don't know. They just had something out for Talon. I'm not sure.
well, Talon went and talked, but Talon told me he got a used Xbox for Christmas. A week later, they found a candy wrapper in the floor. They took it away. He never seen it again. They took all their toys from my house when they got taken
Right.
to foster care, and they never got any of those toys back.
And
They
my
didn't,
phone and the white Samsung that I had that you gave me, Mom, that they kept that because I remember they took that away from me before we had to leave. They took that away from me. They didn't give it back either. And that was a
they,
good phone.
they didn't take them out to
Yeah.
eat when they went out as family. Like my kids got left behind. They didn't take them out to eat. They didn't take them on any kind of social outings when it was
Yeah.
vacations, all of that, they got left behind.
We
Would
had to
you?
go
So
and
I'm
pay
confused.
babysitter
Okay, so
and
you went to respite, like is that respite care or something like that that they provided?
like a babysitter type thing.
Correct, where you, and I could be saying it wrong, but I think it's called respite, where if you're in foster care, you can go to another family house for the weekend if your foster
Yeah.
family is on vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
So okay. So when you say left behind, Amanda, they didn't get to join into in on vacation. Were these pre?
Sometimes we did, but it was only because like they probably didn't find somebody or they couldn't find somebody to take us in, so they had to have us go. But it was only like out of state places we couldn't go, like on like and like at the beach we couldn't go.
Were they
Um,
pre-planned vacations? You know, like sometimes you had things planned before the kids came into care, and so we already paid, it's already planned. So it wasn't like,
That I don't know because I only know what I was told by mom and them. This is what I know only come from what I've heard from Trinity and the kids and my mom.
mhm,
I never talked to social services after they took the kids.
okay. Now, please say this. I'm listening to your story, and again, you know, some of the things that you sharing with me, it's not right. You know, you can't eat but one meal a day. You can't. If I go trick or treating and I'm have candy and it's my candy, of course I want to want my candy. I'm a kid. I want my candy. You know, getting your game, but when we look at the game system piece, right? You took the game system because I did something I wasn't supposed to do. Okay, we all do it. I've done that to my children as well. However, withholding it forever, that's something different, you know, that it doesn't warrant that, you know. And so some of the behaviors that you are describing to me, it is typical parenting a little bit when you think about, oh, I got my phone taken because I didn't clean my room up, you know. However, again, it doesn't warrant that you never get your phone back, you know. I've had my children mad at me many a days because I took a phone or I took the game system away from them. So, you know, I that part right there to me is kind of like typical behavior. Again, vacations and things like that. I think for some foster families, and I don't know these people, that that's where it gets tricky at, because if it was a vacation that was already planned before you guys came into care, then of course, like, you know, let's just say they
yeah.
planned to go to Disney World and it was paid for a year in advance, then of course if you guys come to foster care, then I can't take you to on that vacation because it's already pre-planned. But if I had you in my home for 6 to 8 months now and we're planning to do a vacation with the kids, you know, then of course it may be a thing where I want to take you guys with me because it's a vacation for the kids. Now, an exception to that rule would be if it may be my biological child's birthday and it's something that I want to have a mommy and me moment with just my biological child, then that may be that tricky part of I'm going to take them to bond. But even with that, that's tricky because the end goal is not to let any kid feel left out, you know.
She didn't
And
have
that's
any biological kids there. She couldn't have kids.
right. So, you know, but I'm just throwing out some examples.
Right,
Like
right. No, no.
nobody wants the kid to ever feel left behind, you
Well, that
know.
yeah,
And then
that's
I know sometimes we as parents, it was days that I was happy to get away and leave my kids behind to have those moments because you just want those moments as it's just me getting away. I needed a breather for the kids. So I'm just
A
saying those things
lot
because
of the
I hear
rest,
you guys. I hear you.
yeah. A lot of the people that we went with though were horrible. They were horrible people too. And one time there was this they went to the beach, I think, and we had to put I have to be in the playroom. I'm like, you know, I'm 11. I'm not like a little kid, you know. I was put in the playroom and I couldn't leave the playroom. And I had to play with like the little toys. Like I had to play with like the fake food and stuff like that. And I couldn't watch TV. And I had to sleep in a toddler bed because they didn't have a bed for me. And it was a little cramped, but I made through with it. But they put Talon, they made Talon sit at the table until he was finished with his food, which, you know, I get it. But he was didn't know if he liked oatmeal. So he like literally had to spit it out into a sink because he didn't like oatmeal. He tried it, he didn't like it. So had to spit it out, and he got like fussed at because he spit it out. He didn't like it. I mean, and so then they literally told him like you better eat that or you're not leaving the table. I felt so bad for him. I just like if you don't like something, you know, I don't know.
You know
I
what?
just thought,
I never made them eat anything they didn't like. I made them try it one time, and if they didn't like it, then that's that. But my thing is, I understand all that, but my thing was you didn't do anything with them, no activities with them, and and
You
you
don't
didn't get
feel like
their
they were made to feel included.
right,
yeah.
and they didn't get their stuff back. Like they didn't get their toys, all their
I had
toys
I
from
had
home.
Halloween. I had a Halloween dress that I wanted to wear again for the next Halloween, and I didn't get that back either. It's probably still in her closet.
How did this experience affect your confidence or mental health or your relationships with each other, with family, and with friends?
Um,
And either one of you guys, either one, you or mom can answer.
You can answer, Jen.
um, I don't know. I mean, I felt like me and my brothers, except TJ, exceptional because we had to be split, but I feel like we all became really close. Um, Tayden wouldn't leave my side. Um, Talon, he was kind of quiet with it. But we became like me and Talon have always been kind of close anyway. Um, and I don't know, I felt like I need to take care of them still, like the caretaker is still there.
They're your brothers. So you kind of being separate from your mom kind of made you mom in that moment. So I can understand that. So Amanda, I want to go back a little bit with you because I know you said that you did some time in jail. I know that you shared that you had a drug addiction. So my question to you is, what or who helped you survive that season of battling this drug addiction and being away from your children?
Um, well, I'll answer honestly. Um, the drugs helped me survive losing my children because they kept me numb. And jail helped me survive the drugs. And then, when I got out and relapsed, I guess I helped me survive myself. I overdosed and died at the same time I had an ulcer rupture in my stomach. And it didn't have anything to do with the overdose, but it just happened at the same time, and I had to have emergency surgery, and that was enough to just trick my brain into being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. So
Mhm.
I really didn't get any counseling other than the 30 days in rehab. I really just had to go through it by myself. I don't know how I survived.
Did you ever feel like giving up?
Yeah. I was it was a it was dark. It was a dark place for me, I think about now, thinking back, and I just think about like how dark of a place I was in. Like I would stay in that. It was a little apartment with all the curtains shut, and just no TV, no, just be all by myself, like every day in and day out. And I had two dogs and a cat, and I guess jail is what I needed at the time. My drug of choice was fentanyl, so and I did that for a year after he died, and I don't know how or why I'm still here, and I know I have a purpose.
Definitely have a
Um,
purpose.
I've talked, I hold myself accountable for my mistakes,
Hmm.
and I've talked to my kids about it, and it was my fault that they gotten taken, because if I was doing right, they would have never had any grounds to stand on. So I hold myself accountable for that, and I can't take it back and I can't change it. And all I can do is what I tell them is all I can do is make it right, from here on out. I do think about how they felt every night, all I had to do was get clean, wondering when their mom, those little kids just wondering when their mom was going to come back and not know, like, I had a lot of guilt for a long time about that. And I maybe still struggle with it a little bit, because I know I, they didn't know anything about death. Like, they never really lost anybody close to them until their dad died, and they're so young, and you don't really understand death at that time, and to lose someone so important to you, and then not be able to mourn and grieve with family, that that had to be traumatizing for them. So,
When I say surviving the curse of a broken system, what does that look like for Amanda?
oh gosh, I don't know. I definitely think the systems need, um, I don't know. I'm stuck like Trinity.
Okay, I'm gonna
um,
give you a moment to think about it. So, Trinity, if I was to say to you, broken system, what does that look like to Trinity?
To keep families together, like, and to get to provide help, that the help that like my mom like needed, instead of just like smashing them into the ground and like bringing them down more, and providing you know a better like supportness of like support systems and therapy, and not like I don't know, just in the system of like to look at these families too. Some of these families need to be looked at more carefully, and not
When
be
you
against.
say families, you're saying the foster families maybe need to be vetted a
Yeah,
little more? Okay.
a
Okay.
little bit, yeah. Just I I don't know. I don't know where it all kind of went wrong. I mean, it felt like, as for me, it felt like everything was just like falling apart, and I had no control. I had no control over anything. And that's probably where my anxiety stems from, because I just think about all of the bad things that could happen. And that's probably why I have the anxiety that I've gotten better, of course, but it's hard because I think about the future, and I think about the present. Like, what if tomorrow? Like, what if I lose my job? What if this? What if that? And it's always the what ifs. And
Well, sort of like you're living in you're in a frozen state. You can't move past
yeah,
it. You just like they say, fight, flight, freeze. It seems
yeah,
like you're just in a stage of you're just frozen because you can't get past the what if. It's always a what if,
yeah.
what if.
I've gotten better at it with therapy. Try to do therapy it was every week, and then I have gotten better. And so every time my therapist is really, really cool, and I like her. She's one of the best therapists that I've ever had
she
throughout
is. She's awesome.
Good.
my all of my, because I had so many therapists. I've had to relive telling my story a million times. And
telling your
it was,
story help you? I know you want to help
yeah,
other people, but does telling your story help you? And if so, in
yeah.
which way? Does it give you the release
It,
you need?
yeah, it kind of gives me the release. It gives me kind of like thinking of like all of like, because it's still like even some memories are like suppressed to the point where my brain just doesn't want to comprehend what happened and how that happened. And because like one day it just went from my mom doing my hair in the kitchen or whatever, because I had a case of lice. So, and it just went from, my grandma going outside for a second, she coming back in and sobbing and telling us the news, and my mom screaming hysterically on the floor. Everybody's crying, and
Was that the news of
then
losing your
then
dad?
to yeah, and
Okay.
then yeah, my dad. And then just foster and then moving to, a smaller apartment. I'm not used to that. I was literally in the dining room. I had a bedroom in the dining room and I had a little privacy thingy, but and then it went from that to, foster care to, to my grandma, which we kind of fought a lot because like we're kind of like, and I was also going through a rebellious stage. I was also like, you're not my mom, like this is weird, like kind of weird, but the weird vibes of like, you're my grandma, this isn't right, you know what I mean? Like teenager mindset. And then moving to Bedford and meeting the love of my life, it just all kind of adds up, and
Well, meeting the
things
love of your
happen
life,
for,
then that sounds like you at some point you
yeah,
had a turnaround in your
yeah.
situation and the bad started working for the good.
Yeah. I feel like things happen for a reason, and that's kind of the way the train has gone and went. So,
And Trinity actually got to move back home with me for over a year. So I got to, we got to work on a relationship and rebuild.
yeah.
Um, she worked with me, and so we was together every day, and I felt
Now,
like that was my second chance.
and so that leads me to my next question because I hear you say you guys had to work on your relationship. So being removed, having your kids removed from you, how did that affect your relationship when you guys were reunified? Did it was it a strain there? Were they able to take
No,
right to you, or how did
yeah,
that?
my
At first,
relationship. Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. At first, I thought, why did she choose drugs over us? I was really like mad at her. I was really upset. I was really upset. I was really like, I even told her that one day, I think over the phone. I think she was in jail. I was like, because we had a call, and I think I was like really upset with her, and I couldn't get past. And she told me to like, you know, basically do research on addiction and read on it, and I did, and it kind of made me realize that it's a disease, and it's really hard to not it's really hard to like not do drugs, and I don't think, I don't, because why would I lose another parent? You know what I mean? That's kind of another thing. Like, she's my only other parent I have, and I don't want to lose both parents. So yeah, it's just, why would I be estranged from her? And you know, I always try to support her, try to make sure that she gets clean, and well, not make sure, but I try to, like make sure that like she has the support, and you know
No, I hear you. I hear you. As a kid, it has to be hard to see your mom struggle with an addiction that you can't help her with. But not only
yeah,
can you not help her with, she can't help herself with in that moment
yeah,
because she's sick. So I
yeah.
so so I understand that. I understand that. Amanda, if you could go back and change one thing about the day that your kids were taken from you and put in care, what would that be?
If I could change, I would have got clean. I would have just did it. I would have. That's the only thing that would have changed the outcome is me getting clean. Um, there was nothing else that they could have used against me. Um, to get them out of the home. But that might be a story for a whole nother day. The tactics that they use to get them out of the home.
Mhm.
And not all foster families are bad. I have a client that she's adopted one, and she's got two little brothers, and she's trying to adopt them.
Yeah.
And but there are a lot. We had a neighbor that had a situation who fostered a lot of kids, and so yeah, I agree. I think the foster families do need to be vetted.
Mhm.
Um, and if they would invest all the money and time that they put into getting kids out of the home and into these foster families, put that time and money into the mother, or help her, because a lot of times it's poverty. It's you
Trying to
know
navigate a system. It's
oh
about trying to navigate a system and making sure that that people get what they need. And one thing that stands out to me is Trinity spoke on how she's getting therapy. And a lot of time, and let me just say my hats off to you, Trinity, of saying that I get therapy. And I went through a couple of therapists before I found the one that fits my need. And because a lot of time people don't seek the mental health that they need, and a lot of times people don't know that they need mental health treatment, but on a flip side of that, I think here where I live, and I'm in PG County, Maryland, and a lot of in my experience with the system, and a lot of times I hear that mental health diagnosis, right? And of course I'm doing the quotations because I'm not disputing there is a need for mental health, especially in this era and in this day and time. However, when I heard this about 23 years ago, it could have just been a mom suffering from postpartum depression, not knowing how to navigate, not knowing how to get the mental health service, not knowing how to locate a therapist, not knowing, especially if if in growing up you weren't taught about you can go get help, you can go seek help. One of the things in my culture was what goes on in this house stays in this house. So a lot of people in my culture, we don't go seek that help because that's what was embedded into us. So going to talk to somebody, that's like I'm telling you what's going on in my house, and I was raised not to do that. So
or
with that
crying, and I'll give you
stigma,
something to cry for.
right, and that part too, correct. So with that stigma, it becomes I can't go talk to this therapist. I have to hold it in. So a lot of times when in this county, when I would hear parents saying their kids were taken from them because they were depressed, and then you go to court and they have the mental illness, and it's like I'm depressed. I'm not mentally ill, but you don't realize that does fall underneath that category, but it should be categorized as a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, not just you just saying mental health and it looks like you're already at 10. When I'm just at 1, I just need a little help. I just need to navigate those things, right? So I hear you on that. I hear you on that. I've seen situations of workers telling parents, oh, you can come see your child, and the parent shows up for a visit and the child is not there. I've seen these things, and then on another side, I have seen some, like your mom said, some really good foster families. I've had heard some amazing stories about some really good foster families. But I do agree with you, Amanda, when you say that if you think about a foster care system, and I'm just throwing this number out, I don't know how true this is, but say a foster parent get about $1,800 a month for one child, right? One child being in a home. Okay, we're just going to use that number. But then the mom who has that child who's struggling, right? they get a welfare check. So let's just
four
say
hundred
they
dollars.
welfare check is about $400. Correct. So you want them, so they're trying to navigate life off of $400 to take care of their child while they find the resources, and they can't, so their child is in the system, but then you go take their child and you go give their child to somebody else, and you're paying them $1,800 to take care of that child in the
I was
system,
told they was getting 3,000 per child, so she was probably getting about 9,000 a month for my
Wow.
kids.
Wow.
And they also got a new camper and a new truck within that year, or I wouldn't say year, but that time I don't know how much it was. So it was all a blur, but that time it was a tiny time frame. It was not like a long time frame.
Yeah, and and I agree, like you said,
And
nine thousand dollars a
we were
month. So
clothes
that's
that
a
were sorry.
No, no, your mom said about $9,000. So that is a lot of money
Yeah.
for housing kids. And don't get me wrong, I know somebody who's going to look at this tape and probably say, well, they were taking kids, somebody else's kids, and they were using their home and things like that.
Um,
I get that, but if realistically, I'm not saying give a biological mom $9,000 to take care of their kids, because they are your kids. You are responsible for taking care
yeah.
of your children. But what I am saying is, think about how much more we could have, if we take $9,000 and get these programs and give the parents the resources that they need. So I do know now that we have this new administration that a lot of things are changing, and prayfully that one of the things that is changing is more resources for the parents, more child care, where parents can get the jobs that they need and the resources they need to be successful, because at the end of the day, no children deserve to be separated from their mom. If it is resources, if there is other ways to navigate, or not even just separated from your mom, but just outside of your family, if there is adequate resources. And I do agree when Trinity said, if my mom may have only had that help before we got taken,
And the problem, but the thing I have an issue with the most is that there was no reason why why my kids shouldn't have been with family. That's the thing, is I had family that was willing to take them. So you know what that's my biggest. And I'm gonna tell you, I know every time I would go see my probation officer, their social worker would be sitting in there, and then I would have pop-in visits from my
why would their social worker be in the same meeting as your probation officer?
exact because they
That is two separate
right.
entities.
It wasn't. They would
Yeah.
come
And
together
so
and search my home. Like, this
Where
is the stuff I dealt with after they took the kids.
So when you walk in the office and you see your probation officer in the same office with your kid's social worker, if that raises a red flag to
Oh
you.
yeah,
Are we are Did you report these things to supervisors? Did you tell a judge? Because at some point you had to talk to the judge, even though your kids were in care, you were having court visits, right? You were having your case being heard. So when you were able to speak to the judge, were you able to share anything like this with the judge?
I mean, no, because I just felt like it was me against them, and they were all, I'm the bad mom, the drug addict. So I mean, I knew what they were doing. Like, I knew that they were in cahoots, but I didn't know. I guess mentally, I didn't know that it was anything I needed to report. And now looking back, I probably never even thought about it until you just said, like, yeah, they shouldn't have been, but they definitely was the whole time. It was like they were always um, probation and CPS was always working together. So that's how I know that.
You didn't feel like you had a safe space or a support system as you
No,
was trying
not
to
at all.
navigate and get the resources that you need as well when it came down to the system. And I'm not speaking on your family.
I had a lawyer that was awesome, and he's the
Okay.
reason I still have my rights. that I
So the lawyer that you had, was that the lawyer you started off with, or did you start off with one lawyer and then later on you received
no,
another
it was
lawyer?
the same one the whole time, and he fought against them and stood up, like he stood up for me hard in court, about my rights. And the guardian ad litem, which is, the family lawyer, the kids lawyer, basically, not CPS. CPS had a lawyer, the kids had their little lawyer, and I had a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So their lawyer was the only one probably that any of us felt safe talking to, because she cared, and you could tell she cared. The rest of them did not care. And all the systems are broken. We're dealing with mental health system right now. Um and, and even somebody that goes in and says, I need help, like I'm not going to say who, but they went in and they needed help. um and they ended up catching charges, and I'm talking about not depression, I'm talking about paranoid schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
They threw them in jail. I
Wow.
And that is one of the biggest injustices. Like, all the systems are broken, and they wonder why the people are so broken.
Yeah, we have to do better. We have to do better. I believe that in this world, there are some people who show up for work for a paycheck. And then there are some people who show up for work because they are passionate about what they do and they really want to make a difference in this world. I think that we're living in a time right now where there is a lot of judgment being passed upon people, and people don't have much empathy to help people or to navigate
We've
this
been
space.
desensitized.
Yeah, we definitely are, and I do agree with you that we can do a lot better about the systems that we navigate.
And that's why I feel so, because I became a peer recovery specialist. And
Congrats.
thank you. And that's why in all systems, mental health, like, people that have been through it and they're trying to help, that I feel like that's the way we fix the system, is we help each other and
Be
don't.
great to have a panel of people in every state, of people who've been through the system, who have
Right.
some type of involvement, to be able to sit on a panel, right? That would be an ideal thing, and kind of let the system know where did it go wrong for me, where did it fail, or what they looking on the inside out, what you can do to help it be better. That
Right.
would be that would be an ideal thing, right? To just build this panel and have that.
If the big people really cared about the little people, which I don't, I think it's always about money. It always boils down to money,
Yeah,
all in every system. So, you know, um,
I agree. So I want to play a little game with you guys. It's called Finish This Sentence. I survived the system because
um, because my higher power.
there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Trinity, I survived the system because
Um, my empathy. I empathize with everybody's side, but it doesn't change the fact of what happened.
okay, my biggest lesson was
Don't get involved with the system. That was
that's a good
Um,
lesson to learn. Healing looks like
it's ugly.
healing is
It's
ugly
ugly.
for you.
I mean, not ugly, but when you go through it, you have to start feeling emotions, and I've been numb for, not you, sorry, but I was numb for so long, and now, now I finally feel I'm at a spot where I have my empathy back, because I can see things on TV or watch little TikToks, and I get all teary eyed, and I'm not used
Mm,
to it, but I embrace it now, because, I know that's normal. Suppressing is not normal. We're not supposed to suppress.
mhm,
But like we said, in our generation, that's what we were taught was to suppress. They
Right.
every be seen and not heard, you know.
That's correct. And now we're
Um,
in a generation where these kids, they express everything. They're vocal. They're going to speak, and
well,
that's what.
I raised them that way. I wanted my kids to be able
Yeah.
to express themselves.
Something you said stood out to me when you said, "I look at TikToks and and I can look at them now without being emotional, and but at sometimes I still get a little teary-eyed, that stood out to me because, as a parent, there's no such thing as a great parent. Let me just say that. Like, I'm not going to say a great parent. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. Let me rephrase that because there are some great parents out there. So forgive me for saying that. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. Even if you think your parent is great, it's going to be some days that your parent is going to do something to make you angry or maybe disappoint you, right? Just like there's no such thing as a perfect child. No matter how perfect we want our child to be, reality is one day they're going to do something to disappoint us and let us down, right? Just like if you believe in God, there are days that we disappoint God and we let him down. But the bigger picture is he always forgive us and give us a second chance. And so we as people, we forgive our kids and we give them a second chance. And we pray that our children forgive us and our children give us a second chance. And one thing that I am noticing on TikTok and social media and things like this, people are starting to normalize cutting children off, cutting parents off, not giving each other second chances. And for me, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing as well. If someone is doing anything to bring harm or hurt to you, then you should remove yourself, you should remove yourself from them. But in a situation where your child was taken from you because you didn't have the skill set to do, you needed the help, you didn't have the resources.
Hey, my battery's running low. Can I go grab my charger real quick?
Sure, sure.
I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, yeah. So I'll just ask you, Trinity, what does moving forward look like for you?
Um, I kind of already did some of it. I got my license a little over maybe 6 months. I don't, it's been a while.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Before that, I was too scared to drive. I had severe um agoraphobia or agoraphobic. I think it's agoraphobic. And I didn't want to go outside or do anything. And then once um I moved in with my mom, um, she basically kind of didn't do anything. I just followed her lead basically. And then now me and my fiance have our own little tiny home, and
Friends.
in like, 5 to 6 years, we'll hopefully get a down payment on a house, and maybe in between that and maybe in between then and then there, maybe start a family. We're working on our wedding right now. We're planning our wedding in October. Um, so it's exciting, but I didn't realize how much a wedding, how much to do
It
for
can
a
be
wedding.
costly. Yeah, it can be costly, time consuming, and
Yeah.
if you're a bridezilla, emotional.
Yeah,
It can be
I'm very
emotional.
emotional.
Yeah, yeah. So it's safe to say, moving forward for you is finding your happy place.
Mhm.
Is finding your happy place. So even though you went through some things and you experienced some things, you're now walking in your happy place and you're finding your happy ever after.
I still struggle, but
Of
I
course.
try not to let that like carry me anymore. I try to kind of kind of feel and kind of go through with the flow, but also fight for the future in my present era.
Looking back, what do you wish someone had did differently?
Me or you talking to Trinity?
You
Either
both.
one.
So you both.
Um,
My dad not to work that day. It was Labor Day, so it was that could have maybe, but um I don't know. He was he was alone too, I think. So I don't know, maybe that wouldn't have made a difference, but I don't know. I'm kind of at the place where things happen for a reason, but that's kind of where I'm at in my life is all of that happened. It just
Build your
happened.
character, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And it builds the character and
It
and
does
and
build
um
character. It does build character. If you had 5 minutes with lawmakers or educators, judges, social worker, a pastor, or a community leader, what would you want them to hear from you about how they can make a broken system better? And
keep
either one.
families together. Kids
yeah.
need to see their parents. I may not have been in the best mental space, but they need each other. Like, build that family. I don't think they realize how much removing kids from the home like that and not letting them communicate with their family. I see it. I see the damage. All of my kids have confidence issues. Like, I can see what it's done.
Mhm.
So, keep families together. Just try for that. They say they do, but I don't necessarily agree.
Understood.
Yeah. And going with like that and also like mental health, like we were talking about a little bit ago, just provide mental health and try to just yeah, basically just have like a support and but I don't know. I had something but then I was like, okay, never mind.
Okay, that's okay. I think if I had 5 minutes with a lawmaker, I would tell them, I agree with you 100%. Keep families together. But it would be great where you have, just like we have rehabilitation programs for drug addicts and alcoholics and things like that. It would be great to have a shelter, right? Where if you know a mom is going through something or they're at risk of losing their children, that they can move into that place for a period of time to help them navigate and get the life skills that they need
And
to
have it
help them
ran by
stay together.
peers that have been through that, not the system.
Or
I
even
think
even if it's not ran by peers, it could be ran by the system. However, you have peers that come in to mentor,
right.
to
Yeah,
mentor
exactly.
to mentor the families. That would be something great to have. You guys heard it here on the seat of the table. Contact your local lawmakers and let's get it done. So, what gives you hope today?
Um, Everything gives me hope today. I'm very spiritual now, so and I know I am living walking proof that people can and do change. And I've been the worst drug addict and look at me now. So people they shouldn't give up on people so easily. There's always people can always change.
I agree. I agree. I feel like every day that we wake up is a new day to do something different,
Yeah, be better than we
and
was yesterday.
it does. And one of the things I often discuss on my TikTok when I give a motivational message, I always tell people stay unapologetically you. Every day is a new day to do something different. And I want to say, Amanda, I know that you've been through some things, and now you have your own business. I remember when we talked, you said that you had just received a new certification. However, you're on probation, so you're not able to utilize that certification until after you get off of probation. And I do wish you well and much success with that. I want you to, when you're as you're moving forward, forgive yourself as your children has forgiven you, because sometimes it is so easy for our children to forgive us, but hard for us to forgive ourselves. Trinity said that everything happens for a reason. It's a learning lesson, and just, yes, it's unfortunate you lost your husband, you lost your kids, but look who you are right now. Look who you have
You have to
become.
become an alchemist. You have to learn how to take the bad and if you only find a lesson in it, there's always something that positive that you can pull out of every situation.
You definitely can take something positive out of a negative situation. How do you guys think that we can prepare the next generation to navigate a difficult system without losing themselves?
Ooh.
The
For
next
me,
generation.
it would definitely be doing a lot of research. I feel like in this day and time, I am no longer living in an era where I am going to just take one person word at face value. If I feel like it's not depositing into my life, then I'm going to go research. I'm going to go look, and I'm going to figure it out. So if someone's one door shuts, another door will open. We're just not going to stay standing at a closed door. So letting the kids know that one no doesn't define you. You can keep on going, because if you keep going and you keep moving, eventually you'll get a yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that say no to drugs.
Hey, wasn't that the Reagan campaign? Say no to drugs, and
It
that's
damages.
the and you know what? I'm glad you said that, because we're sitting here and we're laughing because that's an old slogan, but I think that is something that does need to be brought back, because everybody feels like because weed is legal, we're smoking, we're doing this, we're doing that, but then this weed that I'm seeing kids smoking is something different from others, and then there's so many different strands, and so I just, in my mind, I always feel like, I guess I never did drugs because I felt like one thing will eventually lead me to do something else, because eventually I'm going to be immune to something. So then that's not going to get me where I want to be. So that will be my line to want to go do something else. And so one of the things I hear right now is weed and fentanyl, and the kids are able to get it so easy. It's so easy for them to get it. It's not even just 18 and older. You have 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. I spoke with someone a couple of weeks ago that told me their child had an edible gummy from someone at school, some edibles,
That
because
happened
it's
here.
it's so easy to get.
Elementary school kids brought gummies from home thinking it was candy to school.
Right. We have to be more careful with what we're doing around the kids and what we're leaving around them. So I do think saying no to drugs is the best thing. Say no to drugs.
Well, I think it's important for parents not to shelter their kids because because when kids are faced with certain situations and they will be faced with those situations, if you shelter them from the world, they're not going to know how to deal with the world.
Mhm.
So, preparing them for those type of situations and the real world when they get out on their own, if you shelter them, they're not going to know how to handle. So I was always honest with my kids. I never lied to them about anything, about being in jail or, of course, I didn't talk to them about, hey, I'm addicted to drugs while I'm addicted to drugs. But as soon as I started getting clean, they knew that all those times it was because, because I was using drugs. I was sick. I had the flu every week. But now they know it was because of drugs. And so I want them to see and know the damage that it did, you know.
Mhm.
And all of us, well, the drugs part, all of us don't even want to fool with it. I'd say all of us,
Okay.
kind of.
Because of what you seen your mom go through, it just made you just
Yeah. For me, especially, um, weed maybe every once in a while, but just no. No. I've seen what it does, and I'm not interested, you know?
okay. If you can describe your mom in 3 words, Trinity, what would be the 3 words you would describe your mom in this stage of her life?
Uh, resilient, um, um, inspirational, and I don't know if I could use this one, but I am proud of her. So like proud, but she is very like prideful, I guess. Prideful, maybe. Proudful. I don't
Those are some good words to describe
They
your
tell
mom,
me,
girl.
they all tell me all the time how proud they are of me, and so
And I'm glad they tell you that because you deserve to hear that. I just met you, Amanda, but if I had to describe you in 3 words, I would definitely describe you as resilient. I would describe you as a overcomer, and I would describe you as a warrior because you shared your story. You shared how many times that you had flatlined. You shared how many times that drugs had almost taken you out and you didn't give up. And you know, I am thankful that I was able to come across your story and to reach out to you and speak with you a little more. I am grateful that you decided to come share your story here. Trinity, I'm thankful that you decided to share your story here as well. You guys could have shared it anywhere in the world, but you chose to share it, pull up a seat and share it at the table. And I'm thankful for you ladies. And I thank you ladies for joining me tonight.
know.
I thank you for inviting me into your world. And I pray that you guys will continue to have much success. You guys will continue to be able to move forward. And you guys, I must say your relationship is wonderful. And thank you, Trinity. Thank you for seeing your mom. Thank you for seeing your mom because she's human. So thank you for seeing her. Before I let you guys go, I like to ask all of my guests this question. What is one thing you're picking up from the table, and what is one thing you're leaving at the table?
well, during this episode, I've heard a little more from her point of view. So we've talked about it, but they don't like to. I don't like to question them. I guess we kind of steer clear of because it's such a raw subject for both of us, or me
Yeah.
and the kids both. Um, so I know a little bit, but doing it this way and doing it to help other people too. So I heard a little more about her point of view than she probably would have shared if it was just me and her.
Okay. Trinity, is there anything you want to leave on the table?
Um, I don't know. I'm realizing that there's a lot of fuzziness in my memories. Um, and I've kind of noticed that beforehand anyway, but um, I'm definitely going to take that from this, and try to see if I could work with it with like unlocking those memories just to know what happened. I mean, maybe I should leave it alone, but that way I could get the full picture of what happens at what in that era of like foster care and what happened, what led to this and that and the other, and that way, because I just how trauma does it blocks memories and kind of fogs them up. And I've had like childhood memories blocked away, like happy ones, because of the bad. It always stayed there. So, um, with therapy, that has kind of unfogged some of my happy childhood memories. Um, but and also, hanging out with my mom and talking to her about stuff that happened and my point of view. Can't really speak for my brothers, but you know.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Well, ladies, I want to thank you again for coming, having a seat at the table again. I really appreciate you sharing your story. I would like to thank all of our audience that will be watching. We hope that our story was able to encourage you, inspire you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at A Seat at the Table podcast at 7205 or our Facebook page at Seat at the Table. Thank you again for joining us. I wish you guys much success and much luck, and you guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye bye.